guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video here today. And today we are going over this new build. This is Firerate Cache. I made Firerate Cache a while back, and I've been meaning to update the build. It is a lot of fun now, and the main focus of this build is using the Wombo combo for bossing. Wombo combo hits for millions and millions of damage at a super crazy rate. It's lots of fun to do. And we are for the skill for the guns. You can use the parasite. It works really well here. The Raiden, you can use this for extra projectiles on your guns. Our Himdall, parasite works really well. You can also use the bubbles. The shotgun burst beam torque works really well. Lucian flank with shreds. There is all kinds of weapons you can use, like the whiskey foxtrot, really good. There's just tons of weapons you can use here, but I recommend Vladoff because we're using a Vladoff enhancement. So anything Vladoff like Wombo Combo, Whiskey Foxtrot, Lucian's Flank, even an HG on his Dream will do some work. Tons of guns you can use here. And then we're using the most of the Wombo Combo, like I said, and then Parasite and Raiden's here just for extra projectiles. And then Hemdahl for mobbing, so we can do some super fast mobbing. Since we have a lot of fire rate, we can shoot this Hemdahl off super fast. So we can get through the takedown really, really, really fast. And then we're using actually Hero Bullet, box gun magazine, guns with flat off licensed parts, gain 20% fire rate and 20% more magazine size. Bullet hose, guns with flat off licensed parts, have a 30% chance to add an extra projectile per shot. This one has gun fire rate and assault rifle fire rate, which is really nice. And then we're using the Triple M Guardian Angel. And then when equipped, grants a faster revival from Fight for Life. When Fight for Life expires, grants 1 second free life every 300 seconds, which is the best part of this shield and really fast charge rate. And then we're using the Lucky Go Wind Rider. It has 1 in Dealer's Buff and 1 in from Glow, 5 from Glow to Glow, and 1 in Dusty Trail. And then for the Boomer, we're using 3 bullets spare where you get more gunfire rate, more gun magazine size, and you get 50% of your gunfire rate of your gun magazine size, which is nice. And then we're using high caliber, so you have more projectile speed and more gun damage. And then for the skill tree, we're using Sweet Roll. Cash gains increased max health. Whenever he spawns a bone totem, restores a portion of his max health. Excess health is added as overshield. And then we're using a Fortune. Fortune stacks gain increased windfall chance. Fortune skill cash gains increased elemental effect chance and elemental effect damage. The more Fortune stacks cash has, the greater the bonus. And this will grant you up to 20% elemental effect chance and 20% more elemental damage and 2% more windfall chance per Fortune stack. And then we're using Bone Mill Ticket. So whenever you kill an enemy, your bone totems get more axial duration and bone totem health, which is really nice. And then we're using 1 in Double Teens, so cash gains an additional augment slot. And then we're using 1 in Luckless. Whenever cash activates action skill your enemies, they become Jinx. Jinx enemies take increased damage from all sources, deal decreased damage. And then we're using Turn of Fate. But while Windfall is active, cash gains lifesteal. If his health is full, he gains Overshield instead. And this is what we need to get all of our damage going from Glow to Glow. And then we're using Can't Stop Winning. Cash gains increased critical chance with guns and action skill. Whenever Cash critically hits an enemy with a gun or action skill, he gains a chance to enter Windfall. Gun critical hit chance and has action skill critical hit chance. Also very nice. And then we're using 1 in Blue Tree. We're using 1 in Insurance. You get more shield capacity and shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay. Also for you gain Fortune stacks really easy. They were at 5 Fortune stacks right now. Shoot this gun. Shield's gonna go down, but it's gonna charge super fast because we're using Guardian Angel. We gain Fortune stacks. You also throw your dice. Also gain Fortune stacks that way too. I guess it's not guaranteed though. You gotta roll like a 12. They didn't give me a Fortune stack there, but yeah. You throw dice, you also gain Fortune stacks that way. And then we're using 5 in Unleashed. So cash gains 20% more fire rate, which is really good for this build because we're all based on fire rate. 5 is Stand and Bleed, so cash gains a critical hit chance with his action skills and guns. You get 10% more critical chance, which is really good. And then we're using 1 in Double Teens, so you get another augment slot. And then we're using 4 and blow your finger fast. You get more reload speed and fire rate per stack. Max stacks is 5. And then we're using 5 lawless. So you get more kinetic damage, which is really good. And then we're using Chuck full of nitro. Cash deals bonus kinetic damage with his ordnance and gear. Bonus kinetic damage of 6% damage dealt. And then we're using 1 Impale Rider. So our action skill, when our bone totems are hitting enemies, they do bonus kinetic damage. And that can help us refund our ammo, which is really nice. And then we're using 3 in War Wagon. So whenever Cash deals kinetic damage to an enemy, he gains a chance to refill ammo into his gun and restore action skill duration with diminishing returns. Ammo refill chance is 24%, and ammo refilled of 30% of current mag. Action skill duration restored is 15%. And then we're using 1 in Nephilim beats. A portion of all non-bonus elemental damage Cash deals is converted to kinetic damage. Damage converted is increased this way. You get 9% of elemental damage dealt converted, and converted damage increases by 15%, which is great. And they were using 4 and Brimstone for Cash gains increased reload speed. Cash fire rate now benefits from increases reload speed 20%, and fire rate 40%, which is really good. So you get 20% more reload speed, and you get 40% of your fire rate from your reload speed, which is great. And then we're using 5 and Hunt Shaken. Cash deals damage from all sources. Every fortune stack he loses, so you get 5% more damage per fortune stack loss, and the max stacks is 10. And then we're using it from glow to glow. Cash gains increased max overshield, and the portion of all damage dealt is enemies and converted to overshield. Whenever Cash loses a fortune stack, shots from his guns deal bonus damage equal to his overshield, and drains a portion of his overshield. Max overshield is 56%, overshield 28% of damage taken, and then overshield drains the 50% damage dealt, and bonus damage of 140% of current overshield. And then for the specializations, we are using the best defense to get 30% damage dealt when shields are full. And then we're using tripwire, so it reduces ordnance cooldown whenever you activate your action skill, which is really good. And then we're using rotary this, you get 1% gun damage per stack. You can stack this up to 50 times. You can stack this super fast. You get 50 stacks of this super fast with this build. And then we're using groundbreaker. Guns and action skills, you get ordnance damage stored, and you get 20% of damage stored. Do melees. Like if you use the Wombo combo, we have ridiculous fire rate. And as you can see, that groundbreaker there stored 58. We got a 58.1 million groundbreaker there, and then we're not even using like the bonus fire damage. If you're like using viewer spec into the bonus fire damage, you get fire damage. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.